Now the latest ITV news in the Calendar region with Duncan Wood and Katy Rickitt.
Good evening, welcome to ITV News. This is Wednesday night's calendar.
And these are this evening's main stories.
Plunging into poverty. Food bank volunteers in Doncaster say some of its users are facing a crisis with the end of the £20 universal credit uplift.
£20 is a lot of money for the people that are coming in. I mean, there are people already who are on universal credit and they're not able to kind of make ends meet.
The Boris bounds while the party faithful lap up his conference closing speech. Labour demand clarity on a transport strategy for the North.
Whilst the Prime Minister did mention Northern Powerhouse Rail, what does that look like? That can't be TransPennine rebadged.
Saving the planet, how some simple changes to our shopping habits can make a big difference.
This week on my climate change journey, it's a win-win. I'm finding out how I can cut down on my food waste and save money at the same time.
And join me at Wentworth Woodhouse as they celebrate the end of the latest phase of restoration work.
First tonight, on the day the £20 universal credit boost was withdrawn, food banks in Doncaster are expanding their services to cope with what they say is an increase in demand from people who can't afford the basics.
Staff there predict queues out of the door when the change in benefits, coupled with other winter hardships, really start to bite. The government says it wants people working and earning decent wages, but critics say those already struggling will suffer the most. Katy Oscroft reports.
Georgia is on universal credit and her shopping list has just got a bit longer, with 7-month-old Skylar May to look after.
Food for knackers, wipes.
She hasn't lived away from her family home for long and she's still getting used to how far her money will go.
I usually do one big shop on it every month when we get the money, but it don't last very long.
That's why Georgia is here today, the day when universal credit began to put £20 a week less into her pocket.
Never in my entire life I've been to a food bank before.
Kelly's daughter has moved back in with her and she can't support them both.
She's got to claim universal credit, which I've only got enough money to provide for me.
Chantel is here to pick up food for people she helps to look after.
A lot of the patients that we work with are claiming benefits. Sometimes people require food parcels.
The government says it never intended the £20 uplift in universal credit to be permanent and says it will continue to provide vital support for those in and out of work. But Pat, who volunteers here, would like the politicians to come and see for themselves.
I think sometimes they don't live in the real world. They're too far away from what's happening on the ground. £20 a week is an awful lot of money.
Richard's health problems means he can't work. He gets advice here as well as food.
We're getting paid monthly. It's not easy to survive, if you know what I mean.
Well, we've been at the food bank since it opened its doors this morning. About 100 bags of pre-packed food have been handed out. Much of this extra food has gone too, and demand is expected to increase.
To take an extra £20 off is just going to hit people harder that are already struggling, and we're anticipating that it's going to probably plunge a lot of people into poverty who might not already be in poverty. We're thinking that over the next few months we're going to be really having people queuing outside our doors.
Demand means a new food bank will open in Doncaster next month. This one serves one of the most deprived areas of Doncaster, as analysis of data suggests 46% of families with children in our region will be affected by today's reduction in universal credit. That's more than 500,000 families and amounts to £580 million a year being taken off them.
So many people have been warning the government that this was going to cause immense hunger and hardship, but they seem to have ploughed ahead anyway.
Staff and volunteers here, meanwhile, say they are bracing themselves for a hard winter. Katy Oscroft, ITV News, Doncaster.
Well, the Conservative Party conference came to an end today with a rousing speech by Boris Johnson, which certainly pleased the party faithful.
Yes, the issue of universal credit, though, did not feature, as the government has come under intense scrutiny for removing the £20 a week uplift.
The Mayor of West Yorkshire today weighed in, criticising what she claimed was the lack of clarity in the PM's speech over the future of transport in the north. Our political correspondent Harry Horton has been in Manchester today, where he's been gauging reaction from our MPs to the Prime Minister's performance.
It felt more like a campaign rally than a conference speech, big on optimism but light on detail. In front of a packed-out crowd of adoring fans, Boris Johnson emphasised one of his favourite themes, levelling up the country.
Why does half of York's population boast a degree and only a quarter of Doncasters? That is not just a question of social justice, it is an appalling waste of potential, and it is holding this country back.
Earlier this week, the Prime Minister promised a big announcement on rail investment. Instead, all we got was this.
It's a disgrace that you still can't swiftly cross the Pennines by rail, a disgrace that Leeds is the largest city in Europe with no proper metro system, a waste of human potential that so many places are not served by decent bus routes. Transport is one of the supreme leveller uppers, and we are making the big generational changes shirked by previous governments. We will do Northern Powerhouse Rail. We will link up the cities of the Midlands and the North.
There's lots of talk about levelling up in that speech. Do you think there was enough detail?
Well, look, unless you've been living on the moon, like a lot of you media have for the past couple of years, in places like Ashfield, that levelling up's already happening. 62.6 million on the Towns Fund. We've got Future High Streets Fund, 7 million. Hopefully new railways coming, 2 brand new schools coming. So come on, give him credit, it's already happening.
It's about opportunities, and as we said, ability is evenly spread across the country, opportunity isn't necessarily, and we're the party of opportunities, and that really is the message that I think the Prime Minister's given out today.
Labour leaders in Yorkshire say they need certainty on any investment.
It just adds to our frustration. I keep making the case to government that we shouldn't be forced to choose between projects. And whilst the Prime Minister did mention Northern Powerhouse Rail, what does that look like? That can't be TransPennine rebadged.
The crowd inside lapped up the jokes and the slogans. But outside this conference, voters will judge the Prime Minister on whether he delivers the change he's promised. Harry Horton, ITV News, Manchester.
Well, next this evening, a pig farmer from North Nottinghamshire says he may have to start killing his own animals due to a shortage of butchers. Des Allen says a lack of staff at abattoirs means he has a backlog of unsold pigs on his farm near Newark.
It's a situation affecting the whole country, with farmers from across the region protesting earlier this week at the Conservative Party conference. The industry says unless more foreign workers are brought in, thousands of pigs could be dumped or incinerated. Phil Brewster reports.
Des Allen has around 8,000 pigs on his farm. Each week, around 300 would normally go for slaughter. But since early August, staffing problems at the abattoirs mean they're only accepting 260 a week, which is costing Des dearly.
40 pigs that we weren't selling every week, so that's about £5,000 a week we're short having cash flow. And that's gradually built up until it started a couple of weeks ago, so we're now feeding the extra pigs, and that's sort of costing another couple of £2,000 every week.
The main problem at the abattoirs is a shortage of butchers to process all the meat. The National Pig Association says one of the major factors affecting the industry at present is Brexit.
We've had a number of butchers left the country when we left the EU, and following on from the COVID issues, some have, when they've been able to go home, have not returned, and so we're now at about 15% in terms of the shortage of butchers in this country.
Currently, Des Allen has a backlog of around 400 pigs at his farm near Newark, but nationally the problem is much bigger, with up to 120,000 animals awaiting slaughter.
Farmers are in a hard position at the moment. The feed price is really high, energy costs are going up. There's labour shortages on farm as well as in abattoirs, but the whole thing is an absolute nightmare.
As a solution, there are now growing calls for a temporary visa scheme to bring more butchers into the UK from abroad.
Definitely need the government to allow some foreign workers to come in and plug that gap that might not be a permanent solution, but would be a temporary solution, and we need to work towards getting sufficient British workers trained up to do that job.
So far, ministers have largely resisted calls to relax immigration rules, arguing the market will correct itself and that employers need to improve wages and conditions to attract more people into the industry. But industry bosses are warning that unless the problem is tackled, it could lead to shortages of supply in the run-up to Christmas and spell financial disaster for pig farmers. Phil Brewster, ITV News, Nottinghamshire.
Now, while we've made a few adjustments in our house, stay with us because stately renovation. We will be looking at the latest phase to restore Wentworth Woodhouse to its former glory.
And why has this river turned green? Should we be worried about it? Where is it? I'll have the answer to all those questions and the weather forecast, of course, a little later on.
Can't wait to find out what that green muck is. Major buildings like Leeds Town Hall and Meadowhall Shopping Centre will be lit up yellow and blue tonight to mark the 90th anniversary of the charity Guide Dogs. The event will celebrate decades of support for visually impaired people across Yorkshire. Martin Wing from Thorpe Hesley in Rotherham says his black Labrador Tango has been a lifeline to him for the past 2 years.
It's the freedom, the sense of freedom. You pick the handle up and she's taking you. If it's dark, sunny, whatever your vision level is, she gets you to there safely.
Back in 1931, two amazing women, Muriel Cook and Rosamond Bond, set up and trained the very first guide dogs in response to seeing servicemen coming back from World War I. Without the support of our volunteers and donors, we wouldn't have made it 90 years.
Well, now, in less than 4 weeks' time, politicians and scientists from across the globe will meet in the UK for the United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP26 as it's now known. Many view it as the last chance for governments to come together and try to prevent the worst effects of global warming.
But what can we all do to help play our part? Well, in Sheffield, one charity has donated 40 tonnes of food to those in need over the last 6 years. In the second of his special features, ITV weather presenter Alex Beresford has been hearing from them and finding out how simple changes to our shopping habits can make a huge difference.
So last week I met the Hall family who learnt about how they can reduce their family's carbon footprint. And what we learnt is one of the easiest and most tangible things that you can do is reduce your food waste. So I've come here today to get some help with my shopping. Liam is from the environmental charity Hubbub and works to reduce people's food waste. He's going to show me how I can do the same.
The average UK family wastes about £730 a year of food straight into the bin. If you plan your meals that you're going to have for the week, it means that you only buy food that you need, and it means your food will stretch further. Most people avoid it because it can be a bit boring, but if you make it fun, involve the family, think about foods that you'd look forward to eating, then you know that actually that's fine, I know exactly what I'm having and when.
So what would be your top tips for reducing food waste?
So if you're shopping, I would say only buy the things that you need. Look around, you might be tempted to buy a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-2 deal, but if you're not actually going to eat it, stick to your list. Fridges should be between 3 and 5 degrees, and a lot of fridges are slightly too warm, and it means that your food will go off sooner. You can buy Tupperware, you can seal your food to keep it fresh for longer. So if you've opened bacon on a Monday, by Friday it's gone. And use your freezer. There's lots of ways that you can just stop that food from even touching the bin.
So yeah, what kind of choices should I be making in this aisle?
You are my best friend and we've got some things to do.
Now to put the theory into practice. The average UK household wastes around £60 worth of food a month. At least 1/3 of all food produced globally is never eaten. And every year, wasted food in the UK represents 14 million tonnes of carbon dioxide emissions. That's the same as those created by 7 million cars. And avoiding food waste isn't just about the individual. The community fridge network redistributes tons of food every year that would otherwise simply go to waste. The aim is to share surplus stock and bring people together. The University of Sheffield Community Fridge has been running since 2015. They've had more than 40 tonnes of excess food donated from local supermarkets for students and the wider community to collect for free.
We work on the basis of save more, waste less, and the benefits to the students and the wider communities, the families that are around here that come and use this on a daily basis. It means so much to me to know that it's not going to waste.
So whether you want to be part of a community project or you want to cut down on your waste at home, simple tips like planning your meals and making a shopping list can help stop those impulse buys, meaning you waste less food and less money.
Shocking how much we waste, isn't it? If you want to find out more about some simple tips for reducing your food waste, then we've got plenty more advice on our website. And next week, Alex will be looking at fashion and the impact the clothing industry has on our planet. I'm sure I'm a big part of that one. Sorry.
Yes, we'll move on. The ITV Evening News continues at 6:30 with Mary.
Coming up in the programme, Boris Johnson tells his party change is long overdue as he promises to level up the UK. But there is no mention of the universal credit cut as the Prime Minister addresses supporters in Manchester. Saved by seconds, the two men who avoided disaster as glass rained down outside their home. And we all know T-Rex. Now meet his rather smaller, distant cousin. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Thanks for that, Mary. Time now for some football. And Swiss striker Florian Kamberi scored a last-minute winner as Sheffield Wednesday beat Mansfield in the EFL Trophy last night. Former Sheffield United man Stephen Quinn had equalised for the Stags, but it was the Owls who took the points thanks to Kamberi's late strike. Meanwhile, Rotherham have now scored 10 goals in just 2 trophy matches after they beat Scunthorpe 4-1. Harrogate beat Newcastle's under-21s by 2-0. And despite this late goal from Lewis Monsma, Lincoln were beaten 2-1 by Sunderland.
Well, now the 2,000 or so fans down at the Shea Stadium in Halifax last night are unlikely to see a better comeback all season. 2-0 down to Notts County and down to 10 men after Tom Bradbury, well, he wasn't reading news at 10 last night, was sent off. Halifax scored 3 times in the last 20 minutes, the winner coming 10 minutes into injury time. What a goal it was, scored by Matty Warburton. Halifax are now up to 3rd in the National League.
I was wondering where he was. The highest ranked women's football team in our region are hoping to break their attendance record this weekend.
Yeah, Sheffield United women take on Liverpool in the Championship, the second tier of women's football. The game will be at Bramall Lane, which next year will also host 4 matches at the Women's Euros. Chris Dawkes has the story.
They might work normal jobs all day and train just 3 nights a week, but there's nothing part-time about the ambition at this football club. Sheffield United women use the same training facilities as the men's team, and this weekend will play at Bramall Lane, where they're hoping to exceed their attendance record of 1,500 for the visit of Liverpool.
Obviously a massive game, being at Bramall Lane is something that we're all very excited for, me personally as well. To have a lot of people in, obviously as well for friends and family, it's going to be a massive occasion. So, you know, we're just asking everyone to get behind us. Obviously it's international break for the men, so if you're missing your football, come down and see us.
The time before I was at home, we played Durham at home, we had a good crowd then as well, just short of 1,000. So, you know, the supporters are really behind it, and obviously we'll try and do our best for them on the day.
With nearly half the clubs in the 12-team championship fully professional, the fact the Blades are currently second is testament to their ability and commitment. It will take some effort though to win promotion. Only 1 team go up to the Super League, but it would be quite a timely feat with Europe's best coming to South Yorkshire next summer. Bramall Lane and Rotherham's New York Stadium will host 8 matches between them of the Women's Euros.
It was amazing to kind of have Bramall Lane as a host venue, and hopefully that will be a venue now where a lot of young girls can come and watch the Euros and be inspired and hopefully take up football as a result of that.
Some could well be inspired this weekend, and with tickets priced at just £1, these Blades could find added strength in numbers.
We've got no doubt that it'll be a tough test, but as I say, we believe in ourselves as a squad, and we've got a fantastic squad and staff as well.
How far can this team go, do you think?
All the way.
So they're not yet fully professional, but if that time comes, Sheffield United women know they have all the tools needed to make that step up. Chris Dawkes, ITV News.
Good luck to them. John's here with the weather.
Yes, a conundrum first of all
Yeah,
tonight.
what on earth is that Hulk soup that we saw earlier?
Here it is, the green stuff. It's a river foss in York which has turned green because of the tiny rounded leaves of common duckweed, no less. Now, it's a naturally occurring phenomenon. It thrives in slow flowing rivers such as the River Foss, and it's good food for fish and waterfowl. It also maintains a habitat by providing enough shade to get rid of all that green algae stuff. Not to be confused with that is duckweed, not algae. But there's no cause for alarm. Here's one up at Home Firth. Yeah,
Did you really just do that?
The latest recruit to the Cloud Appreciation Society. Is it a llama or an alpaca? What's the difference, Katy?
I've absolutely no idea. This was scuppering us the other day.
I think it's something to do with size, but a lovely blue sky up there earlier on today. And this is the Neyburn Loch on the River Ouse. Plenty of water there. And here we are at Scunthorpe. This is Central Park, in fact. And a cloudy old day up at Robin Hood's Bay on the coast there. So plenty of sunshine inland, but a bit cloudy up at Robin Hood's Bay. Now, Matt got up very early today to climb Buckden Pike, no less, in the Pennines. That was really early this morning. He must have got up when it was still dark. So a lovely day up there. There's the memorial to the Polish airmen up there. That's well worth a visit if you're up and about. Now, look up, it's free. Never more so the case than today. Look at that lovely feather cloud at Rotherham. That's cirrus unkindness, that is, Katy and Duncan.
I thought it was.
Beautiful.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Sean. See you at the end of the show.
Nice that horrible rain's gone as well. Finally tonight, there's been celebrations today at South Yorkshire's magnificent stately home at Wentworth Woodhouse to mark the completion of the latest phase of restoration works. Just a few years ago, parts of the mansion were in danger of collapsing completely.
But after thousands of hours of work and millions of pounds spent on the Grade 1 listed building, it can now look to the future. Martin Fisher's been to find out more.
Bathed in autumn sunlight, Wentworth Woodhouse looks every bit the quintessential stately home, fit to rival any ever built. But just a few years ago, things were very different. Years of water coming in through the leaking roof had left it crumbling.
Had the Trust not stepped in at the time, I'm sure that certain historical parts of this house would have been lost forever, and we've managed to save them and protect them for the future.
Now though, after millions were spent to make the roof watertight, the rooms below it are finally safe. In total, over 52,000 hours of work on the main front roof alone.
Well, the majority of the restoration work has taken place on the outside of this stately home, and that's really important though for the inside. If you look up above me to the roof, you'll see where water has got in the past, damaging the plasterwork. Hopefully now that can't happen anymore, now the roof has been restored, and eventually too, that damage itself will be repaired.
The repair work's been funded by a £7.6 million grant from the government. The roof itself covering the area of 3 football pitches.
There's a certain pride that comes into working on a property like this.
There's still a lot more work to do. While the rooms are no longer in danger, water ingress has caused damage that's still there to see.
This year we'll be doing our cultural strategy to determine what's actually going to happen inside the house for visitors to come and see in the future. But there will be a series of major projects now to ensure that every part of the house is finished.
And the latest work to be completed comes on top of one of Wentworth's famous clock towers. This weather vane repaired and re-gilded in gold leaf.
I mean, it's really right up there. It's one of the best country houses in the country. And it's something that South Yorkshire and Yorkshire generally should be very proud of.
We have Chatsworth not too far away. Would this rival it one day, do you think?
I think it rivals it already. You know, they should be looking to their laurels, I think.
Much work still remains to do, but now for the first time in decades, Wentworth Woodhouse is safe for future generations. Martin Fisher, ITV News.
Beautiful at Wentworth Woodhouse, wasn't it? Just to let you know, Katy and I are now in a cohort. We're being tested so we can sit within slapping distance. You can give me a crack on the side
and he can put his hand over my mouth if I talk too much.
Yeah, here's John with the weather forecast.
Bringing you blue skies and sunshine.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Yes, hello again. So, as promised, a much better day today than it was yesterday, at least for most of us. A lovely sunrise here up in the Pennines at Digley Reservoir. There's Home Moss transmitter on the horizon, and still in that neck of the woods by early afternoon, a little bit of fair weather cumulus clouds developing against that lovely blue sky above those grazing sheep. So this is what the view from space, the satellite sequence, looked like today. Again, the best of the sunshine in the west over the Pennines, just a little bit of cloud hugging the coast there at times. So through this evening and overnight tonight, some thicker cloud will produce one or two outbreaks of light rain or drizzle. It'll be a mainly dry night, but an increasingly cloudy one, and that cloud will be low enough to give some mist and fog on Transpennine routes. Temperatures initially dipping down to around 8 or 9 Celsius. There is sunshine for tomorrow over this morning's sunrise just outside Wetherby, up at 7:18, down again at 6:29. So a different sort of a day tomorrow. We will have more in the way of cloud, especially in the Pennines, again up towards the Dales, one or two outbreaks of light rain or drizzle. The cloud will break up away from the Pennines, allowing one or two sunny spells to come through, especially by afternoon, and some reasonable temperatures for the time of the year, a muggy 19 Celsius. And through tomorrow evening, little change, one or two bits and pieces of light rain or drizzle up towards the Dales. And then into Thursday, it's a similar sort of a day, a bit of a cloudy start, that cloud breaking up, some sunshine coming through, top temperatures 19 Celsius, and it's mild but rather cloudy over the weekend.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Thanks, John. That's it from us. Our next update's 10:30.
The national and international stories follow shortly with Mary Nightingale.
But for the whole of calendar team, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Bye.